Welcome to Crime and Curiosities, where we peel back the shadows of the darkest true crime stories. If you're new here, or even if you've been with us through every chilling tale, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because tonight's story will haunt you long after the screen goes dark. We're traveling back to 1965 to a quiet street in Indianapolis, Indiana, where a house that looked ordinary hid a nightmare so horrific it still shocks the world. This is the story of Sylvia Likens, a 16-year-old girl whose vibrant spirit was extinguished in a way that defies comprehension. How could one woman orchestrate such cruelty? And why did an entire community fail to save her? Buckle up, because this is a deep dive into a true house of horrors. Sylvia Marie Likens was born on January 3, 1949, in Lebanon, Indiana, the third of 5 children to Lester and Elizabeth Likens, carnival workers scraping by in a life of constant travel. Sylvia had older fraternal twins, Daniel and Diana, and younger fraternal twins, Jenny and Benny. The family's nomadic lifestyle meant Sylvia and her siblings often stayed with relatives or strangers while their parents worked the carnival circuit. Sylvia was the heart of the family, lively, confident, with a love for the Beatles, roller skating, and singing. She was protective of her younger sister Jenny, who walked with a limp from polio and earned the nickname Cookie for her sweet nature. Sylvia babysat, did odd jobs, and shared her earnings with her struggling mother. But what happens when a girl like Sylvia, full of life, steps into the wrong house at the wrong time? In the summer of 1965, the Likens family hit a breaking point. Elizabeth Likens was arrested for shoplifting, leaving Lester to care for the kids alone. With the carnival season in full swing, he couldn't take Sylvia and Jenny along. Carnivals were no place for teenage girls, and school was about to start. So Lester made a fateful decision. Through a chance meeting via his older daughter Diana, he connected with Gertrude Baniszewski, a 37-year-old divorced mother of 7 who agreed to board Sylvia, 16, and Jenny, 15, for $20 a week at her home at 3850 East New York Street. What kind of father leaves his daughters with a stranger he barely knows? Was Lester desperate or just reckless? Gertrude's home was a facade of normalcy. The reality? A cramped, filthy space with peeling paint, no stove, and barely enough food. Gertrude, frail from bronchitis and asthma, chain-smoked to cope with stress. Shed endured 2 abusive marriages and a string of boyfriends, including Dennis Wright Sr., who fathered her youngest, Dennis Jr., 18 months. Her 7 kids, Paula, 17, pregnant and volatile, Stephanie, 15, reserved, John Jr., 12, troubled, Marie, 11, Shirley, 10, James, 8, and Dennis Jr., lived in chaos. Gertrude was drowning in poverty, and that $20 a week was her lifeline. At first, Sylvia and Jenny fit in, attending Arsenal Technical High School, going to church, and doing chores with the Baniszewski kids. But how long can a house of cards stand before it collapses? The collapse came fast. When Lester's first payment was late, Gertrude's temper erupted. She disciplined Sylvia and Jenny with a paddle or belt for small infractions, eating extra food, talking back. But Sylvia soon became the sole target. Gertrude, reportedly envious of Sylvia's beauty and charm, accused her of lies, spreading rumors about Paula's pregnancy, stealing, even prostitution. None of it was true, but it fueled Gertrude's rage. Was it jealousy of Sylvia's youth, or something darker in Gertrude's mind? By August 1965, the abuse turned sadistic. Gertrude beat Sylvia with belts, hairbrushes, and anything within reach. She burned her with cigarettes and matches. Later, over 150 burns were found on Sylvia's body. Sylvia was denied food for days, her body weakening from starvation. When she was fed, it was often spoiled food or scraps. Gertrude forced Sylvia to drink urine or eat her own feces, humiliating her in front of the Baniszewski children. In September, Gertrude escalated the horror by locking Sylvia in the basement, a cold, damp, concrete cell with no light or bed. Sylvia was stripped naked, tied with ropes, and left without water or food for days at a time. Gertrude and Paula scalded her with boiling water, rubbing salt into the burns to maximize pain. Sylvia's screams echoed, but the thick walls muffled them. Neighborhood kids, invited by Gertrude, joined in. Ricky Hobbs, 14, burned her with cigarettes. Coy Hubbard, 15, Stephanie's boyfriend, practiced judo flips, slamming her frail body to the ground. How does a group of children become complicit in such cruelty? By October, Sylvia was barely human in the eyes of her tormentors. Gertrude and Ricky Hobbs used a heated sewing needle to carve "I'm a prostitute and proud of it" into Sylvia's abdomen, a lie meant to break her spirit. The process took hours, Sylvia writhing in agony. John Jr., 12, and Coy Hubbard beat her with fists and boards, targeting her head and stomach. Gertrude forced Sylvia to insert a glass bottle into herself, an act witnessed by Marie and Shirley Baniszewski. Sylvia's body was covered in over 150 wounds, burns, bruises, lacerations, and internal injuries. Her kidneys were failing, her brain swollen from repeated blows. How could this go on for so long without anyone noticing? Neighbors saw Sylvia's condition, gaunt, bruised, barely able to walk. A public health nurse visited in early October after complaints about the house's filth, but left without checking the basement. Sylvia's sister Diana was turned away by Gertrude, who lied, saying Sylvia had run off with boys. Jenny Likens, paralyzed by fear, stayed silent until the end. Why didn't anyone break through Gertrude's lies? Was her manipulation that powerful? Before we continue, if you're gripped by Sylvia's story and want more deep dives into cases that shake us to our core, hit that subscribe button and join the Crime and Curiosities family. Your support keeps us uncovering the truth behind these chilling tales. Now, let's ask, how did this house of horrors stay hidden in plain sight? John Jr., 12, and Coy Hubbard beat her with fists, boards, and a curtain rod, targeting her head and stomach, causing internal bleeding. Sylvia was forced to perform degrading acts like dancing naked for the kids' amusement. Her body bore over 150 wounds. Burns, bruises, lacerations, and deep cuts. Her kidneys were failing, her brain swollen from repeated blows, and her weight dropped to 85 pounds from starvation and dehydration. How could this go on for 3 months without anyone stepping in? Neighbors saw Sylvia's condition, gaunt, bruised, her eyes hollow. Phyllis Vermillion, a next-door neighbor, testified she saw Sylvia limping, her face swollen, but assumed it was family discipline. Another neighbor, Darlene McGuire, saw Sylvia tied up in the basement during a visit but didn't report it, later saying, "I thought on October 26, 1965, after 3 months of relentless torture, Sylvia's body gave out. She died at 16 from a brain hemorrhage, shock, and malnutrition, her autopsy revealing a fractured skull, kidney failure, and over 150 wounds." Gertrude tried to cover it up, ordering her kids to clean Sylvia's body and dress her in clean clothes. She called police, claiming Sylvia was attacked by a gang. But Jenny Likens, trembling, whispered to an officer, "Get me out of here, and he'll tell you everything." Her testimony exposed the truth. Could Jenny have spoken sooner, or was she just as trapped? The trial in May 1966 gripped the nation. Gertrude Baniszewski, Paula, John Jr., Coy Hubbard, and Ricky Hobbs faced murder charges. Other neighborhood kids like Mike Monroe and Richard Dean were charged with lesser offenses or testified in exchange for immunity. The courtroom was a circus of horror. Witnesses described Sylvia's torture in gut-wrenching detail. Sylvia's autopsy revealed over 150 wounds, internal injuries, and a body so emaciated she weighed just 85 pounds. Gertrude showed no remorse, claiming she was too sick to control her kids or the neighborhood teens. Paula blamed Sylvia, calling her a liar. John Jr. admitted his role but said Gertrude made him do it. But how much responsibility lies with the kids versus the adult who orchestrated it all? The verdicts came down hard, but not hard enough for some. Gertrude and Paula were convicted of first-degree murder. Gertrude got life, Paula got life with parole eligibility. John Jr., Coy Hubbard, and Ricky Hobbs were convicted of manslaughter, receiving 2 to 21-year sentences. Most of the teens served just 2 years. Gertrude was paroled in 1985 after serving 19 years, moving to Iowa under a new name until her death from lung cancer in 1990. Paula was paroled in 1972, later working as a school aide under a new identity until her past was exposed in 2012. John Jr. became a lay minister, expressing remorse before his death in 2005. Coy Hubbard died in 2007, Ricky Hobbs in 1972. Did justice fail Sylvia when her tormentors walked free so soon? The aftermath of Sylvia's murder left scars on everyone involved. Jenny Likens, racked with guilt for surviving, lived a quiet life until her death in 2004. Sylvia's parents, Lester and Elizabeth, divorced, haunted by their role in placing their daughters with Gertrude. The case sparked outrage in Indianapolis, leading to stricter child welfare laws and greater scrutiny of foster care arrangements. The house at 3850 East New York Street was torn down, replaced by a parking lot, but locals still avoid the spot, calling it cursed. Sylvia's story inspired books, movies like An American Crime, and countless discussions about how society failed her. What can we do today to ensure no child endures what Sylvia did? Sylvia Likens' story is more than a crime. It's a mirror held up to humanity's darkest corners. It forces us to ask how cruelty can fester in plain sight, how a mother can become a monster, and how a community can turn away from a child's suffering. Sylvia deserved better, a chance to grow up, to chase her dreams, to live beyond 16. Her story reminds us to look closer, to listen harder, and to act when something feels wrong. Will you be the one to speak up when no? That's it for tonight's deep dive into one of the most heartbreaking cases we've ever covered on Crime and Curiosities. If Sylvia's story moved you, or if you have thoughts to share about this story, share them in the comments. We're reading every single one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crime and Curiosities for more stories that challenge your mind and stir your soul. Until next time, stay curious and stay vigilant.